What's up guys, welcome to Munchkin's Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkin's logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. And welcome back to another Should You Pull video. In this video we are going to be taking a look at the banner that's coming out for Rinoa'S Lost Chapter. In this particular banner we do have the chance to get Rinoa'S EX and IRVINE'S EX as well, alongside with their 15 and 35 CP weapon. And the third wheel for this one is going to be Squall, which you can get his 15 and his 35 CP weapon as well. Now before we do start this video, I would just like to gently remind you to guys, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and leave a like on this video as well. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. Without further ado, let's start this video. Now we'll start this video off with a returning EX weapon, which is for Rinoa, called the Rising Sun. This gives her the EX ability called Angel Wing Meteor, which is a 3-hit AoE Magic Brave plus HP attack that is triggered 3 times. Now the brave hits are going to be dispersed when there are multiple enemies. The HP damage is going to be split equally amongst all enemies and will grant her the Angel Wing effect for 3 turns. This also dispels the Angelo Recover buff, and this has a slow recast speed. At 1 out of 3 limit break, this increases the brave damage dealt with Angel Wing Meteor and Angel Wing Meteor Angelo. We'll talk about that one a little bit later because it is a new thing for Rinoa. At 2 out of 3, when using Angel Wing Meteor or Angel Wing Meteor Angelo, this grants her a medium max brave up and a medium attack up. And at 3 out of 3, this will slightly raise the recast speed of Angel Wing Meteor. Now once you have realized this weapon at 0 out of 3 limit break, when you're using Angel Wing Meteor or Angel Wing Meteor Angelo, this will tremendously increase the brave potency, and the stolen brave can now overflow up to 150% of her max brave. Now while you have Angelo Recover buff active, this will turn Angel Wing Meteor into the Angel Wing Meteor Angelo, which grants Rinoa a buff called Surging Power for 8 turns. Now Surging Power has the following effects. It raises her initial brave and will grant her a brave regen as well. Now at 1 out of 3 limit break, this will slightly raise Rinoa'S max brave and greatly increasing her attack. At 2 out of 3, when the quest starts, she will have a max brave up and a medium attack up buff for 8 turns. And finally at 3 out of 3, when using Angel Wing Meteor or the Angelo variant, this will increase the total brave potency, slightly increasing the max brave overflow limit and raising the brave by 30% of the HP damage dealt after every HP attack except the last one. This also happens to fill up her EX gauge to the max when the quest starts. Now the bonus period that you are going to be getting here is called Danger Attack Boost Up. When your HP is lower or equal to 80% of your max HP, this will give you a max brave up and attack by 10%. So after hearing all this information regarding Rinoa'S realized weapon, how much should you be investing on Rinoa? Now in all honesty, in my personal opinion, you should really go 3 out of 3 with Rinoa. Now while it's honestly nice to start at 2 out of 3 because you get those medium max brave up and medium attack up at the start of the quest, what you're really after here is the instant fill up of her EX gauge, which I think is the most important part for Rinoa, because in all honesty, her EX gauge fills up very slowly, because for most of the time you are actually using her HP attack plus instead of her other abilities, which increases the rate that her EX gauge fills up. So using HP attack, it just increases the gauge a very tiny bit. So you want to actually use her EX as much as possible in order for you to deal a lot of damage as well. So I do feel like even though it's nice to start at 2 out of 3, I think you should really go 3 out of 3 if you really like to invest on Rinoa. Now as for the closest comparisons of different characters for Rinoa, in all honesty, I'm I had a very difficult time finding someone that I can compare her to. Now, for her EX, it's quite simple. It's basically just like Meteor, which is like Golbez, so I can compare her there. And he's a melee DPS, although kind of like a magic DPS in a way, but that's basically it. So it's very, very hard to find someone who is exactly or similar to Rinoa, because she does reduce her HP when she uses her HP attack while she's on her Angel Wing mode. So I put it down to having two different stances. That's why I added Aphmau in this comparison. She has both a offensive and a defensive stance, just like Rinoa, although not so much as defensive, but it does heal her up in a certain way. So I do feel like this is the closest comparison that I can do. It's a bit of a mix between Aphmau and Golbez. Golbez is basically there because of the Meteor thing, and Aphmau, I think, because of the defensive and offensive stance. Okay, now let's take a look at the new EX weapon that we are getting on this banner, and it is for Irvine, called Bismarck. This will give him the EX ability called Armor Shot, which is a 3-hit range brave plus HP attack that is triggered 3 times. There is a greater brave damage to target afflicted with the range resist down, and will deal a 20% splash damage to non-targets. This will restore the party's HP by 50% of the HP damage dealt up to 20% of their max HP. The excess HP recovered is converted to Brave, and this will inflict a range resist down to all enemies for 3 turns. And this will also grant him the Snipe buff for 6 turns, which has the following effects. It increases his own max Brave and raises the party's attack and max Brave overflow limit for range brave attacks. This has a slow recast speed, and at 1 out of 3 limit break, this will increase the brave damage dealt by Armor Shot. At 2 out of 3, it will increase the recast speed, and at 3 out of 3 will give him access to an HP attack plus, which is a range brave plus HP attack, which can have an overflow of 120% of his max brave. Now for the realized version, at 0 out of 3 limit break, this will increase the total brave potency of Armor Shot, and the stolen brave can overflow to 120% of his max brave. At 1 out of 3, this will slightly raise his max brave and moderately increasing his attack. At 2 out of 3, this will slightly raise the recast speed of Armor Shot once again, and when the quest starts, he will have the Snipe buff up for 6 turns. And finally, at 3 out of 3, when using the Armor Shot ability, this will increase the number of brave hits by 3. However, I do want to explain this. It actually only increases 1 brave hit per brave plus HP attack. As we all know, his EX is actually triggered 3 times, so basically you're adding 1 brave hit for each of them, not a total of 3 brave hits for each of them. So let's just make that clear, because I actually was scratching my head when I was calculating the total damage with this one. So I thought I'd make that a little bit clear, because it sounds so OP, because imagine having 6 brave plus HP attack and it's triggered like 3 times. So it's actually a 4-hit brave plus HP attack, which is triggered 3 times. Now this will also increase the total brave potency and slightly raising the max brave overflow limit, while also turning his HP attack and HP attack plus to the plus plus variant. This will slightly increase the brave potency for his HP attack and will restore the party's HP by 20% based on the damage dealt, and can heal up to 10% of their max HP. Now the bonus sphere that you are going to be getting if you do max this out is called Debuff Success Long Range Attack Long. Wow, that is a very long name. This basically, after inflicting a debuff, will raise your range attack by 15% for 6 turns. The same spheres do not stack, and that is basically his EX+. Now let's talk about the rework that Irvine will be getting at the time of the release for Rinoa'S Lost Chapter. Let's start this off with his first ability, Canister Shot. Now there are a lot of changes happening with Irvine. I can't really list them all because pretty much it's a big change. Okay, so first things off, there's 4 uses now instead of 1 if I remember correctly, and when you're using Canister Shot, this increases the number of hits to 6 and will increase the total brave potency. The Stolen Brave can now overflow to 120% and slightly improving the speed down debuff by extending its duration by 2 and moderately improving the max brave up as well and extending its duration by 2. This now also triggers an HP attack after use, so you don't have to have 80% of his max brave before it actually triggers. Next, let's talk about Scatter Shot Extend. Now increases its number of use by 1 and increases the number of hits to 5, and again increasing the total brave potency, moderately raising the brave damage dealt to a single target. The Stolen Brave can now overflow to 150% of his max brave and moderately improves the range resist down debuff success rate and extending its duration by 2 turns. This also grants a small physical attack up now for 8 turns and slightly improve the brave region and extends its duration by 3 turns. Now, after using Scatter Shot, this will turn his Brave Attack to Brave Attack Plus for 8 turns, increasing the number of brave hits by 2 and moderately raising the total brave potency. Okay guys, so after hearing all this information regarding Irvine's EX and EX Plus and of course his rework, how much should you be investing on him? I am of the opinion you can start off at 2 out of 3 for Irvine. This is because this is when he gets his snipe buff at the start of the quest, and not only that, this is the point where his EX ability get another increase in the recast speed. Now, in all honesty, going 3 out of 3 for the max is actually pretty good if you want it. The main reason here is obviously the more damage output, increasing the number of brave hits by 1 for each time the HP attack is triggered. So it's not too bad. It does give him an extension to his HP attack to the plus variant once again. It's not like it's a game breaking thing. It is for longevity reasons. So it's not bad if you actually go 3 out of 3 for a max for Irvine. It's not the greatest thing, but at the same time it's okay for longevity reasons. However, I must say you probably won't lose sleep over it if you don't actually go 3 out of 3 for Irvine. Okay, so now let's talk about comparisons, which I also had a hard time comparing Irvine to anyone because of the fact that he actually heals allies, which is very weird for ranged DPS. I mean, you know, overall as a DPS, I mean, Lena is a ranged physical damager as well, but you know what I mean. So I honestly put here as Auron. Seeing as Irvine is the one and only, I do believe, is the only one that can apply a range resist down debuff, and Auron is, I think, one of the few ones that can actually apply a melee resist down debuff. I can't remember on top of my head if there's more, but I know for a fact that Irvine is the only one actually at this moment in time that can apply a range debuff, range resist down debuff. So you can correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, but as far as I can see when I look this up, he is the only one. So he is kind of like that specialist, you know, with a range debuff, and where Auron was in melee debuff. So I guess Auron is the closest one I can sort of compare him to in a way. Both their attacks are kind of similar. Obviously Irvine is a range physical damage dealer, whereas Auron's a melee, but I think it's close enough that I can compare him to Auron in a way. Of course, Auron right now is not really good, but if he does get his rework and then, you know, buff up all his attacks, is probably the same kind of deal with Irvine. Of course, The EX is comparable to Golbez once again because it does trigger 3 times, so that's the closest thing I can do for the EX. Okay guys, so we're finally at the end of this video, and of course I will give you guys reasons why you should and should not be pulling for this banner. Let's start this off with why you should be pulling is if you need a magic or a range DPS. Now, there are an abundance of magic based characters right now. There's a few of the ranged ones, but in all honesty, there are a lot of other options. So if you already have Ultimisia, Emperor, or Golbez as your main magic DPS, there's really not much reason for you to actually pull for Rinoa. She doesn't really get a lot for her EX Plus, to be completely honest with you. So if you already have the big 3 main magic DPS, I would highly suggest maybe just holding off on this banner. And of course, for the range DPS, we have both your Yuffie, Vincent, or Barret as your main range DPSs. There are quite a few now. Oh, I also forgot to actually put King there as well. So there you go. There's quite a lot of different range DPS, characters that you can bring. Of course, the main difference where Irvine can actually sort of heal the party as well, so that is something that's going for Irvine. Now, next reason why you should be pulling for this is you actually need more characters for Dimensions End and the upcoming Abyss Beta. So the Abyss Beta, I do believe they're gonna take that off next month, and hopefully we'll get the new one sometime around the following month after. I don't know, they haven't really said anything. But as for Dimensions End, by the time that this event does come out, or Rinoa'S Lost Chapter comes out, I do believe that the next floor for Dimensions End is also coming out at the same time. So if you are lacking in characters, this is a good time to actually pull for someone. Nearly lost my voice there, and pull for someone, and hopefully you will have enough to actually beat the next floor, or even the floors below that as well. Now, the next reason why you're going to be pulling for this is if you are a big fan of Final Fantasy VIII. Now, this is pretty much a Final Fantasy VIII banner. You have Squall, you have Rinoa, you have Irvine, so what more can you ask for a Final Fantasy VIII banner? Maybe Quistis or someone. I know there's quite a lot of people who like Quistis, but you shouldn't be pulling for this if the list is there, as you guys can see. But the last reason why is if you are waiting for Yuri or Penelo for next month. Now, I only put 2 characters here because I think they are the most, I suppose, hyped up characters that will have a lot of changes, especially Yuri and Penelo, of course. They will have a lot of changes, and basically you will make them really strong. Now, obviously there are other characters that are worth mentioning as a side, and those are, to me personally, are Onion Knight. When he gets his EX Plus, actually makes his Meteorite EX ability well worth using now, rather than before you really prefer the Blade Torrent. Of course, Lulu with her multiple Brave plus HP attacks EX, and Jet, of course, which I still don't have his EX. I'm finger crossing that I get his EX this time around, because I really like him as a character as well. So he gets up pretty strong as well, because he gets immediate start off with his EX, I believe. And those are basically the characters that are well worth mentioning aside from Penelo and Yuri. Anyway guys, that's it for this video. Please remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already at the start of this video. It does help with my channel to grow, and of course helps with the YouTube algorithm as well. Follow me on my social media at Munchkins Gaming. I'm both on Facebook and on Twitter. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to private message me, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. This is Munchkins logging off, and I'll see you guys in the next level.